Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm gonna be a little dangerous here. I've been reading Brian Michael Bendis' Mighty Avengers. It's pretty good. I think it addresses a lot of things of what Brian Michael Bendis' strengths are. He's really good at giving different characters a voice. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't really notice that each character getting their own voice until they all sound the same. It's one of those things you don't think about until it's noticeable. Each person, the way they're written, even if you weren't, like, let's say you just had the script and you didn't have the speech bubbles indicating who was talking. If everyone had the same voice, it would just sound like the same person, one person reading one line of dialogue throughout the whole comic. But if everyone has written in a certain way, you can tell who's talking. If someone leaves out, like, okay, this is this person, this is normally how they are, this is this person, this is Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, this is Iron Man, this is Ares, this is Wonder Man, this is the Sentry, this is Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. And someone told you that ahead of time, kind of showed you some of their dialogue, and then rest you read the script, you can tell who's saying what. That's when you know it's got really good voice, right, for the characters. Brian Michael Bendis did a really good job at that. I don't know what happened recently. Maybe he got a little complacent. And it happens for some writers. Sometimes they just... maybe he had too many yes men that were saying, yeah, that's good. But whatever the case, it's pretty good. I don't know what happened during the last couple years, but I like this. He's not really... I feel like he's good at this, writing characters. If he stays in his wheelhouse, maybe, go a little outside his wheelhouse every now and then to kind of see what works for him. But he can write a good Avengers comic from these titles. So since he's going to DC, I think this could work out. I think we might get old school early 2000s Brian Michael Bendis, because he's in a different environment, so it kind of requires him to change or to stretch his legs, right? You've got a lot of other people working there. You got Jeff Johns, even though he's doing the movie deal, right? You've got Dan Jurgens. You've got Marv Wolfman, who's actually coming back on Teen Titans to write the next issue coming up with, I think it's featuring Starfire, which is pretty cool, actually. It's really cool. Who else do we have? We've got Tom King. We've got... What else? You got Tom King. You got Sean Gordon Murphy. You got a lot of different writers. So in that different environment, and I don't know how it works for writers, because I'm not at a comic book company, right? I'm not with editorial. I'm just someone looking from the outside. From what I've seen, we might get some interesting stories, depending who's the editor, who's working with him, the team that Brian Michael Bendis has. If he has a good team working with him, we could get some neat stories. If we get stuff like from 10 years ago, like the Mighty Avengers on maybe a fill-in Justice League story, or let's see, what else could we get him to write? What other, maybe fill-in for Titans? Flash would be really interesting. Have Brian Michael Bendis do a couple issues on the Flash. That would be cool. I would like to see that, because if he writes anyway, kind of sort of like Ultimate Spider-Man, or some of the stuff that he's done for the Mighty Avengers, you could get a Barry Allen that has, we can see what's working on behind the scenes with him, because he does a lot of speech bubbles, which is really cool with the dialogue, because you'll see what Carol Danvers is thinking when she sees a Black Widow training these guys, when she's really just beating them into a pulp. And what she thinks is like, oh my goodness, chick is insane. And then she's like, oh, you're really good at what you do. Or Tony Stark will say, he's like, oh my goodness, marry me. And then he'll be like, hey, you're on the team. And then she'll say something. It works really well. And to have the Flash do that, and he focuses on the rogues, have some, because Flash, he gets crazy stories like the Speed Force and whatnot, But at the same time, despite the fact that he's super speed, he's pretty grounded. So I would like to see, this is what I'm proposing. I would like to see Brian Michael Bendis write the Flash. One, I haven't been reading the Flash because I've not been too crazy about Joshua Williamson's run. For like the last 15 issues, it's been kind of, it's been mediocre. It hasn't been really that good. It hasn't been awful. Like, it hasn't been awful. Like, you'll read a comic and you're like, this isn't good, but it's not like, oh my goodness, this is just absolute trash. And this is for me. Some people really enjoy his run, but it's been pretty hit or miss. I would like to see Brian Michael Bendis write the Flash. It's a grounded superhero, kind of sort of like Jessica Jones. She has superpowers, but she's focused on the ground level. It's focused with his interactions with the rogues, because the rogues, I mean, if you look at them, they're really D-list villains, but the interactions between themselves and the Flash is what makes them interesting, or at least to me. So I think that would be really cool. See how he does in some fill-in issues. Let him do a 4 or 5 issue story arc on the Flash. That would be pretty slick. Kenneth Rocafort or Lionel Yu do the art. Oh man, if Lionel Yu did the art or Kenneth Rocafort did the art on the Flash, that would be insane. With Brian Michael Bendis' writing. Oh man, I'm getting excited for nothing, because this everything I'm saying is probably never gonna happen in a million years, but that would be pretty dope. So those are some of my thoughts after reading the Mighty Avengers. I think we could get some really cool stuff out of Brian Michael Bendis' writing. Him going to DC, it's a different environment, and that can make all the difference. Different editorial staff, the energy with all these different writers. Got these top-notch artists. I was watching, I haven't finished it, but I've listened to a lot of the podcasts between Ethan Van Sciver and John Mallon, and I feel like some people are kind of getting the wrong impression from him, because it seems like he's just tearing into Marvel, but I really feel like he's just someone right now that's just really frustrated that things are going. And I think Ethan, he has a different viewpoint because he works at DC. He's pretty like locked in with his contract with them, so he has a sense of really good stability. And I feel like at Marvel, a lot of people don't have that. And I feel like John Mallon's worked with a lot of these people. The people that are attacking Ethan Van Sciver, he's like, oh, well, they don't understand, or he'll have these conversations with them, and he'll talk about kind of the problems, and he agrees with it. But I think it's different when you have someone who's working with these people. I think that's a whole different scenario. Like, you're working with these people, and you're like, oh my God. Like, on Twitter, we can speculate from what they say, but when you're working with these people, he's probably thinking, like, y'all don't know. Like, y'all think y'all know, but y'all really don't know how it is in Marvel. Because I've seen some people trashing him, saying he's entitled and whatnot, and I think a lot of that is just him being frustrated. And it's easy to say that because we only see from what's, you know, projected or said, right? Because a lot of his podcasts, he's been pretty straightforward in the middle of the road, but I think since he's gotten attacked so much on Twitter, like, all this frustration is just built up, and he just exploded. And he's a human being. I mean, you deal with that on a day-to-day basis, you would be pretty miffed. You'd be pretty irritated. But yeah, what do y'all guys think about Brian Michael Bendis writing The Flash, or more street level heroes? Maybe giving him a crack at The Huntress. Oh man, a Huntress miniseries with Brian Michael Bendis. Oh man, I'm coming up with some good ideas over here, man. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you on the next.